It is time for my 6th sock week. That's right. This is my 6th time participating in sock week, and I'm taking you along with me as I try to knit a pair of socks this week. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from The Cozy Crow, and welcome to my YouTube channel, and welcome to today's vlog. We are starting off, we are getting ready for Knitty Natty's Sock Week. If you're not familiar with this make-along, Knitty Natty has hosted this 8 or 9 years now, but for 1 week in the summer months here in the United States, she hosts this make-along where in 8 days you try to finish at least one adult sock. She does other events and stuff too, which is really fun if you have the budget for that and want to participate in that kind of community. But the make-along itself is free and is open for prizes even if you don't spend any extra money on special sponsored items or on the special events or anything like that. The theme this year is Garden Party, and I didn't purchase any of the sponsored items, but I wanted to pull from yarn from my stash to knit a pair of socks that are inspired by the Garden Party theme. I'm probably gonna knit vanilla socks. I might do like a little tiny texture. I'm not quite sure yet, but I thought I would go through my yarn stash and pick out some yarn that I can cast on because it is Saturday. So cast on starts at midnight on Sunday. So it runs through Sunday, the whole week, Monday through Saturday, and then one more Sunday to make the 8 days to finish at least one sock. And I am going to try really hard to finish both socks this week because it would be really nice to have this work in progress completely finished in a timely way. I do have a couple other projects on my needles that need a lot of attention, a couple test knits coming up, so I really might not finish the whole pair, but I definitely want to get through at least one of those socks, and I can finish the second sock sometime later on when I don't have a deadline kind of determining what I need to prioritize. But for sure, if I can get through one sock this week, then that would make me happy. So I went through my yarn stash. I couldn't quite remember, just like looking through my sock yarn, if any of them were garden related, flower related, fruits and veggies, outdoor nature-y. It just wasn't coming to me as I was looking at the yarn itself. And I know that I really wanted to cast on a pair of variegated vanilla socks, so I could try timing myself for this pair of socks and seeing how long it took me, since I recently completed a vlog where I timed myself knitting a pair of vanilla socks, but they were self-striping. I only had 50 grams of the main color, and I had some issues that I ran into in the process of knitting that pair of socks. So I wanted a pair of socks that were still interesting, hence why I wanted variegated, but they could be vanilla and I could just cruise through them. I wouldn't be limited by the color or the amount of yarn that I had or any striping or anything like that. I could just knit to my heart's content. So I wanted to have just an easy breezy sock without as many limitations, so I wouldn't have to stress as much and kind of piecemeal my sock like I did in that vlog. But I'm really happy with how those socks turned out, but I wanted something a little less fiddly to knit. So because visually looking through my stash, I was having a little bit of a hard time finding yarns that would fit this Garden Party theme. You don't have to follow the theme, but I wanted an extra entry in completing my sock if I followed the theme with either the yarn, the pattern, other notions, or the project bag. So trying to get as many bonus entries as I can without spending any extra money. I went through my stash inventory. I completed this a few months ago. I think in April, I really dedicated myself to going through my whole stash and keeping track of it in a spreadsheet type of document. And I was able to scroll through all of my sock yarns and look at the names and see if any of them popped out to me as something that I may want to cast on. So I pulled out a couple skeins of yarn as options, and I think I have an idea on what I want to cast on. And in order to cast on right at midnight, we are going to have to prep this yarn and wind it up. So I'm going to try to do that this evening as well. Okay, so not only did I need to find a variegated yarn that was Garden Party themed that could fit in with that theme, I also needed a yarn that was calling to me, that I was really interested in casting on. So I grabbed 3 different options, but I think I know which one I'm leaning towards. This first one is called Lilac Lemonade, Lilac flower, garden, etc. Natalie said that whatever yarn or pattern you feel like is related to the theme is fine. She's not going to be the judge on whether or not it is close enough to the Garden Party theme, so it's up to you. So I think that Lilac Lemonade would fit. This is by Kimber's Cozy Creations. Really beautiful, nice fun summery colors with the purple and the yellow. The next choice I have. This sock set is called Serene Meadow, and it is by Kettle Hearth Fibers. This is from a club of theirs that I was doing, and I really loved their colorways. Budgeting wise, I decided that I needed to stop the club. End of the year last year, I think, is when I stopped doing it. So I have quite a few sock sets from this club that they were doing. Really pretty. I think the colors are really great. Meadow is not quite garden, but I think it's close enough flower. You know, thematically, I would say that this counts for me personally. And then the last choice, which I think I'm leaning towards, this is the Backcountry Knitter, which is a local to me dyer. The main color is called Summer 11. And this mini is called Melon. So I think it is perfect for this time of year. Melon, I think, fits the garden theme perfectly. So I think this is what I'm leaning towards. And I really love how interesting this colorway is. And I love sock sets. So that's part of the reason why I'm really leaning towards this. I think it'll be really fun to work with. This pink especially is really calling to me right now. It's something that will get me excited to knit. That's the thought. I've had this in my stash for a little while, so it would be really good to use this as well. I don't think they are dyeing yarn right now. They had a baby last year, maybe. So life is busy for them. So I haven't seen their yarn recently. So this would be a real treat to be able to knit. I think this is going to be the pair that I cast on. I think this is going to give me exactly what I'm wanting out of trying to complete this challenge. So let's wind up this yarn. Make sure I have needles handy so that we can hopefully cast on. My plan is to do a vanilla sock. Maybe I'll do a really light texture like slip stitches here and there. We can figure that out after we work on the cuff. But I'm going to do a 64 stitch count sock because that's my typical size. I'm going to do cuff down because, again, I want this to be as mindless as possible. And I'm just going to follow my normal recipe. Nothing crazy as far as the math goes, but I will put down my information in the description box if you're interested in my vanilla sock pattern for my foot, what I like to do. I think I want to do a cuff in this fun melon color, and then maybe I'll do the heel on this melon color as well. This 20 gram mini is not going to be enough to do the heel, toes, and cuff. So I think I'm going to pick cuff and heel. Let's prep this yarn and get ready for cast on at midnight tonight. Good morning. It is Sunday morning, so time to cast on for sock week. Big surprise, I did not cast on at midnight. I could have. I was awake, but I was feeding my baby. So as soon as I was done, I was like so exhausted. I just went back to sleep. So now it's time to cast on. Like I said, I'm going to start in the mini Melon, which is perfect for garden party. I don't know how far I'll get this morning. I don't have big plans for today. I do have a couple test knits that really I need to work on. So I'm not going to get super far on this sock, especially because both my test knits are at the point where I'm really comfortable with the patterns I'm doing and I'm just knitting for a while. So I can bring those to church, which is where I start some of my knitting for Sunday. And then of course throughout the day as we're relaxing, spending time with family, etc., I can get a lot done as well. So I think I'm going to cast on, start working on the cuff, and we'll get breakfast sometime soon here. We don't have church till a little bit later this morning, so we've got some time. I'm on baby duty right now. It's about 7 a.m. and I would just like a little bit of a slow knitting morning. Overbooked myself a little bit this week, and I should have seen this coming, but I guess I always make a point to do sock week, and I didn't make a point this year to make sure that my obligations were cleared away. It is the Utah yarn crawl going on right now, which means a lot of driving. I think when I did the math last year, I put in like 500 miles on my car. It's a lot. There's Ogden, Bountiful, 2 in Salt Lake, 1 in Park City, 1 in Sandy, 1 in, is it West Jordan or South Jordan? I can't remember exactly where that one is. And then there's 1 in Lehigh, 2 in Provo, and 1 all the way down in Richfield. It's all kind of in like central to northern-ish Utah. Like they're all pretty close together. For 11 yarn stores being that close together, it's pretty awesome. But that is still a lot of driving, and that takes up a lot of time to go visit all of them. And I can't not. I love to support my local yarn stores and just small businesses in general. So I've been really busy with the Utah yarn crawl, and I have a couple test knits that are due like within the next week, and I'm feeling really stressed about completing them. I'm still figuring out my time management with a newborn, and I didn't expect to be selected for both of these test knit garments, and I was, and I'm trying to keep those commitments. Life has been really busy and still trying to figure out how to fit it all in. I'll pop up some pictures or b-roll of those garments that I'm working on. Those have been getting a ton of my attention this week. And between that and then driving for the Utah Yarn Crawl and visiting all those stores, I am still on the cuff, even though it is Wednesday. I only have a couple more rounds left to go, so I'm definitely planning on finishing the cuff today and starting on the leg of the sock. Yeah, this is not a priority, and unfortunately, sock week is kind of a timed thing. So I'm still really hoping to get a sock done. I do not think I will do a whole pair. I am also trying to time myself to see if my timing is going to be a little bit different for this vanilla sock compared to the last vanilla socks that I did, just to know. So that's my update about this. At least this bag, this was a gift from my friend Ashley of Goose and Ghost Knits. She has these like small drawstring bags with her fun little designs on there. I thought this was perfect for garden party. It's got like a pull string, and so I can wear this on my wrist. We were planning on going to a museum today. Got to keep my 5-year-old occupied. So even though I want to stay at home and knit all day, that's not possible. So this is the perfect project to bring with me as we're walking around that museum. So that is the plan. We're going to be able to start the leg today and see how far we can get. And then when I'm at home, all I'm knitting on are those garment pattern tests. I also work this Saturday. I have a 12-hour shift on Saturday. So I just am feeling really busy, and like I don't have enough time to do all the things I want to do, and it's stressing me out. So this is not the most important thing. If I don't complete the sock, it doesn't mean anything about how good of a sock knitter I am or how part of the community of sock knitters I am or anything like that. It doesn't have anything to do with my skill or my participation or whatever. It's really fun to participate, but this might get the back burner. So we'll see if I still finish it during sock week itself. If not, I'm still gonna take you along with me and kind of talk to you about the process. So we'll see, I guess, how far I get. But if I make really good progress on my test knits, I'll feel a little bit safer to dedicate more time to this. I have a sweater that's due on, I think, Tuesday, and I'm on the back panel. I've done the front panel, partway through the back panel. If I can finish the back panel today, that leaves me 2 days to do each sleeve, and then 1 extra day to do the collar, weave in ends, block it, and then I'll still have that final day for getting pictures, finishing up the test knit. So that's not totally unreasonable, though I have a lot of the back panel to do, so I'm not sure if I can quite make it, but I just gotta go as hard as I can to try to finish that test knit, and maybe just take a break from test knits for a while, because it's hard to make that commitment when I've got other things like my family that's more important and pulling a lot of my time right now. So let me know down below, do you think I can finish this even though it is Wednesday and we're still on the cuff? It is the beginning of the day. By the end of the day, we should finish the cuff and we'll be on the leg. That's my update. It's not much of an update. Let me know if you're having success with sock week, if you like having a time sensitive goal like this. Normally I love sock week, but I've just got other things going on that matter more to me. My sock is suffering as a result. I will say that not reserving this whole week to work on socks has made it really hard to complete a sock. It is now Sunday. Yes, that's right. The last day of this sock week challenge, and I've not nearly gotten as far as I wanted to. Life has just been busy. That's my own mediocre planning at play that made that happen, but I have made some progress, and I think there's still hope I could finish today. Sunday is one of my biggest knitting days, especially when we spend time with family. My in-laws are near us, and so we'll be spending some time with them. That means I can get some more knitting done. We have church, which is a good opportunity for me to do a little bit of knitting. Not nearly as much as I used to when I just had my older child. Now that I have an infant, it's a little bit less convenient to knit, but he is ploppable on the ground. So if he's happy on the ground and exploring the world on the ground, then I can do some knitting. We are I think just about done with the leg of my sock. Now these colors are actually so fun. I'm really loving how this yarn is working up, and I like that it is, as a variegated, still pretty random how these pops of pink and purple are showing up. I wonder how it'll turn out when I switch to doing the gusset, because I'll have more stitches in the round. I don't know if it'll change the visual nature of what's going on in this yarn. So that'll be interesting to find out. I am going to do a heel flap and gusset because that is my typical sock, and I am just really comfortable with that math. I can honestly be faster doing it that way. I think I'm just about done with the leg. Normally I do a 20 round cuff, a 40 round leg, and then I'll start doing the heel. I worked on this when we went to go see at the Sarah Shell Outdoor Theater. I had a ticket to go see Matilda, and I thought my daughter might enjoy it as like a summer fun night out. We got home at like 11 o'clock at night. I had regrets, but she seemed to enjoy it. She was definitely scared of Miss Trunchbull. There were tears at one point because of Miss Trunchbull, but then as soon as the show ended, she told me she wanted to be Matilda, that she wanted to go see it again. She's like, are they doing it any other time? They were finishing up the show, so it's not like we had a chance to go see it again. But I think it was a success overall, even though there were some big feelings involved. And I worked on my test knit until it got too dark to do that, and then I switched over to this, and timing-wise worked out perfectly. That I'm pretty sure I have just about 40 rounds here. So I'm going to count my rounds. I'm going to make sure that I'm ready to start the heel. I might even start the heel stitches so I have that established, and then put this down, get ready for the day, take care of family, etc., etc., and then I can work on the heel at church. Now, if I can get through the heel and get the gusset established in church, I think I have a good chance. So that's kind of like my mini goal in my brain. I think I'm going to do it in just this regular color. Am I? I think I would love to have this really fun melon pink for everything, heel, toe, and cuff, but I just don't have enough, and I think I would visually want a fun toe more, unless maybe I could find a fun color to do a different toe. No, I wouldn't like that. I think I'm just gonna go with this and make the melon the toe, so I'm gonna continue on in this main color for the heel. So we're gonna make sure that we are all established. See how close I got by the end of that show, because guess what, yesterday I worked a 12-hour shift, and usually I can put in a little bit of time on my socks, especially on a Saturday where we don't have a lot of services, so it's kind of a lull day. We don't have any surgeries that day. Not true. In my ICU, I had 3 patients, and I was running around all day. I didn't get to eat any lunch until like 4:30. I stayed an hour after my shift finishing report for them, because of course all 3 of my patients went to 3 different nurses, and then I also had to chart on one of my patients completely after report. So I didn't get home until 10 o'clock at night. So I'm really tired, and I didn't get any knitting done yesterday, which is kind of wild, but I just had to come home and unpack everything from work and take a shower and go to bed because I was just exhausted. Saturdays are really slow. That one was not. We're going to see if we can make some progress, since I am definitely behind where I'd want to be. If you are following Nitty Natty's schedule, then today is your extra day. Just kind of finishing up anything you didn't get done. She has a really nice schedule laid out. I'll pop it up here so that if you want kind of benchmarks for each day and how far you want to get on your sock, whether you do toe up or cuff down, she has some guidelines for you, which is really helpful. Looking at my timer, I have in total been knitting a little over 2 hours. So the question is, since my last sock I knit, I finished in just under 6 hours. Do I have 4 hours of knitting that I can do today? I might be able to fit that in, especially with a sock where I can work on it during church. I can work on it while I'm watching my kids if I don't have to be hands-on, if I just have to be in the same room as them. If I'm watching any kind of World Cup, the World Cup ends today, the finals is today, so we might be watching some of the World Cup. I can do that while I'm holding on my knitting. I can do that while I'm chatting with my in-laws. There's a chance. Also, I can finish by midnight, so after bedtimes, I can definitely put in some time. If we can make some good progress during church, at my in-laws, I think we have a shot. It'll be tight, and I don't know if I can work on my test knit at all today if this is my priority. So let's get going. Okay, I'm at my in-laws doing a check-in. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon, and I have finished my gusset. I was able to get through more than half of the gusset in church, so I did a great job. I have, according to my timer, 2 to 2.5 hours left of knitting. I did make my leg a little longer because this is how I typically like my leg than my last timed sock, so that's a little different. So that's why I'm gauging maybe 2.5 hours of knitting left. I got time. I can do this. Let's go. It is time to check in. I have finished my sock week sock just in the nick of time. It was maybe 11:30 at night when I did my Kitchener on the toe and I wove in my ends. I was so happy that I got to finish this in time. And I think because I already knew approximately how much time it would take for me to knit a pair of socks from my video previously, I was more confident at picking it up on Sunday with only the cuff and the leg done and knowing that, yeah, I have like 4 to 5 hours of knitting I can fit in today between church and visiting with family and after bedtime knitting time. And so while it seemed like a lot, I also didn't stress too much. I just knew, I also didn't stress too much. I knew that I could totally do it and it was very reasonable for me to get this knitting done. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I love these colors and this melon is just such a fun pink. And I don't know how much you can tell, but there's kind of this really mild spiraling going on the foot that I'm really enjoying. If you can hear my baby, he is having fun playing with my gnomes over there. So I really like how it turned out. There's definitely a couple like color blocks right there. There's one on this side that's a little bit more noticeable, but for the most part, it's pretty mixed. But yeah, you can see that spiraling on this side, which is so fun. And I think that this is just a really beautiful colorway, and I'm so excited to have this entire pair done. I have casted on my second sock, technically. I have currently 64 stitches on this needle. I just have not even joined in the round, which is funny. I don't normally stop here, but I had to take care of stuff with my kids. So I had to put this down without finishing what I was doing. So I need to come back to this and work on it. This sock is my basic vanilla sock recipe that I use personally for my own socks. So I did a 20 round cuff, a 40 round leg on the second needle, or the second half of my stitches. I made a heel flap and gusset, just a regular slip stitch heel flap and gusset, so I don't have to think about it. I did my heel turn, and then I picked up stitches for the gusset and decreased every other round until I got to the foot. I did 45 rounds on the foot in between the gusset and the toe. I did this one a little different actually. Hi buddy, please don't pull on my tripod. Something I did a little different on this sock than normal actually is I made a slightly more anatomical toe just because I was having a hard time getting this to fit the way I wanted to, and I think just with hormones postpartum, my feet are a little bit shape different than I'm used to, and so I might need to adjust my sock recipe. But I did a slightly anatomical toe. How well can you see that? Oh, Arthur. I did a slightly anatomical toe. So you can see that this side kind of has a more steep line right here. So this is where my smaller toes are, and my big toe, I just did every other round decreases here rather than switching to every round decreases like I normally do on my modified wedge toe. I just needed a little bit of extra length. So we'll see how I like this. We're gonna make the second sock opposite this so that the big toe is on the other side of the sock. And if I like the fit, then I may continue doing a slightly anatomical toe like this for future socks, but just trying it out a little bit to get a little bit more length in my sock because I didn't want to rip back my toe. I wanted to just be done with this sock. What's up, cutie? I would love for you to distract him because he's trying to grab my tripod. He's giggling over there. All in all, I'm really happy with how they turned out and that I was able to finish for sock week, though I just had so many other things going on. It was really hard to fit in the time to work on this. The grand total, though, for how long this took me to knit, I'm going to pop it up here. It is just under 6 hours, so even faster for this sock compared to my other socks, which is really impressive. I'm really happy with how I did. Not that I was trying to go as fast as I possibly could, but I was thinking that following my normal sock recipe would mean less thinking, and less thinking means less time on knitting because I can just cruise through. I'm gonna say about 6 hours to complete one single vanilla sock, and I'm not gonna time my second sock. I'm gonna time some other things in future videos. I would love to time myself knitting a muscle burra. Maybe I'll do a fingering weight versus a DK weight muscle burra and compare both like the yardage that I use, the grams that I use, if there's any differences in sizing that I end up with, but especially how long it takes for me to knit those separate socks, but especially how long it may take for me to knit those separate hats. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know down below if you participated in Sock Week and if you were able to complete a sock within that 8-day challenge. I am happy I completed one. I've been able to do more in the past. Not this season of life, but that's okay because I was still able to complete one sock and I got an extra entry even because I used a garden themed yarn, which I'm really happy about. Though I was not able to win any prizes, that's okay. There weren't a lot of prizes to go around, and most of what Sock Week is the challenge of knitting the sock, of the community of other sock knitters, and so I was happy to participate. If you like this type of content and want to see more from me in the knitting, crochet, bookish realm, especially in using up my yarn stash this year, as that is a big focus of mine to attack my stash, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification down below to be notified every time I post a new video, because I post irregularly but pretty frequently, and I would love to have you here for other videos of mine. I'll make sure to link a few of my recent videos down below in case you want to see more of my content. And until next time, happy knitting, but especially happy sock knitting. Bye!